Hello, listeners. Before we start, I just want to remind you, you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to the Nighttime Podcast.
Miss Madelayne Klein, I say I want to do Encounter with Creeps episodes at least once a month. It seems that never happens, but I'm going to make an effort from this point on to make it a monthly series, and that starts today with Encounters with Creeps, episode 28. For people new to this series, this is a series in which listeners of the show can share with us their encounters with creepy people. Think odd first dates, random weirdos on the street, creepy coworkers, creepy customers, all sorts of creeps. If you've listened to the prior 27 episodes in this series, you know what we're looking for here. We're looking for, as Madelayne puts it, stories of trauma with a lowercase t. You want to explain that?
It's stories we can laugh at and kind of keep light. The creep spectrum is a broad one.
It is.
Some of the stories borderline on, harassment or, just being illegal. You could be charged for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, and then there's other ones that are just kind of light and airy and, we can laugh at. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones. There's a sweet spot, and we need to find that.
Yeah, well, I think listeners are getting it because we get a lot of creep encounters sent to us, and I find it's people really get it now. And, when I was picking out the stories for tonight, there is a gold mine or a trauma dump of creep encounters in a folder on my desktop, and I pulled some really interesting ones out tonight. Ones that we can laugh at, roll our eyes at, certainly cringe at, and probably learn a bit from. But as we always do, let's start with a creep that has made their way into the news. I don't know if this made its way across your desk. It comes out of Airdrie, Alberta, and it involves a group of kids who took it upon themselves to try to do a to catch a predator sting. There's online content where people will bait creeps into thinking they're going to meet with a kid or something at a Walmart, and they film it and confront them. I'm sure you've seen these kinds of videos.
Yes.
Did you hear about the kids in Alberta who tried to do that and ended up getting caught while trying to catch a predator?
No. And these are my neighbors. I'm right beside Alberta, so.
Listen to this news story. I've never heard anything like this before.
Police saying this was dangerous for so many reasons, not the least of which, of course, is the level of risk at which these kids willingly put themselves in. Now, this all happened on Monday night in the community of Airdrie. A group of Airdrie kids made contact with an adult from Calgary on social media, and they arranged to meet in the Cooper's Crossing area Monday night. Police say this is a social media trend that's gaining in popularity right now. It's modeled after the U.S. television show To Catch a Predator. Now, one in this group of about 10 12 and 13-year-old kids voluntarily got into the vehicle with the suspect when he arrived. It's not clear what kind of evidence they intended to gather or record, but what they didn't bargain for was the vehicle speeding away with the 12-year-old boy inside.
The 12-year-old male thankfully was able to get away from the abductor when the suspect vehicle stopped at a red light. The victim then ran to a safe place and called 911.
In this situation, when that young person got in the vehicle, we have no idea what his plan was, how he was going to stop, how he was going to get out of that situation.
Now, the suspect vehicle sped away after the 12-year-old boy got out. RCMP, with the assistance from Calgary Police Service and the Hawks helicopter, tracked the vehicle to northwest Calgary. There is now a man in custody. He is facing 9 serious charges, which include sexual interference, invitation to sexual touching, and 3 breach charges. He is to appear in court tomorrow. Now, police have been clear. They are not happy with anyone taking any sort of vigilante action. They say it not only taints the investigation and hampers prosecution, but it's also, as we've heard, just extremely dangerous.
Wow. Now, I've seen videos like this online. In fact, I did an episode several years ago with a group called the Toronto Predator Poachers who do this sort of thing in Toronto. But these are adults who are doing this stuff.
Right.
To have a group of 10, 12, 13-year-olds try to pull this off and go so far as to actually get in the vehicle alone with this guy, what the hell were they thinking?
I can't believe how many emotions and thoughts I had in such a short time. So the first one was like, are you stupid? But then I was like, well, now the guys ended up being charged. So like blessing in disguise, I suppose. But
they got lucky that this guy got caught and got charged, but
they're going about it all wrong.
There's a good reason 12 and 13-year-olds aren't police officers.
That's correct. And usually in these sorts of situations, on a to catch a predator situation, you kind of like ambush the creepy person. You don't get in their car alone and just see what happens. You let them know that they're caught. And isn't that the content? Isn't that the material you use?
Well, yeah. And for people who haven't seen this type of content, there's like videos of someone that people will put on social media where they will trick someone into going to I don't know, a food court or a Walmart or whatever, or some park where they think they're going there to meet a child, but a group of adults show up and they have cameras and they say, they bust them and put up a video online about it. There's tons of this stuff. But it's not like you don't actually get in the car or go to their place I've never seen it be kids before. It shocks, it just shows how dangerous social media is, considering how it can influence kids to get in bad situations. And this is a horrible situation.
Their hearts were in the right place. I know that. But you guys.
Just call the police. But it's, I guess it's, this series is about creeps. The guy who did this, I'm glad he got caught. Kind of disturbing to hear that some of his charges involve breaches. I wonder what court orders he breached, and I wonder if they involved, not communicating with kids. They went about it the wrong way, but they probably got a dangerous person in the streets. So
for now,
a half of a tip of the hat to the kids.
But also, please don't do that again.
Yeah. That is one of the two contemporary creeps, or creeps that are in the news, that we're going to hear about tonight. We're going to, in a moment, get into the listener-contributed creep stories. We have a whole bunch of them, but I want to play one voicemail first before we get into it. And this is from a listener named Talia in the UK who loves the series but can't quite understand why she enjoys listening to this. Here's Talia.
About a month ago, I just came across the Encounters with Creeps. And oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. It's like an addiction. I can't stop listening. Well, I say I can't. I couldn't stop listening, and I just listened to all of them in a week and a half. And when I was doing so, I realised, I shouldn't be listening to this. I shouldn't be falling asleep, putting it on Spotify, putting my phone on my nightstand and going off to sleep. But hey, is what it is.
We're glad you're here, Talia. You're sick like the rest of us.
Oh, welcome to the club.
I enjoy that. And I enjoy that someone from the UK managed to stumble upon this predominantly Canadian podcast, listening to creepy stories. And this is what Talia in the UK decides to go to sleep listening to.
And binge listened. That's the best.
Well, let's get into it. So we don't interrupt the creep stories. Let's take our first break now. When we get back, we're going to hear about a creep at an amusement park riding the tilt-a-whirl. Madelayne, do you know what I mean by the tilt-a-whirl, the ride?
I do, yes. And I'm especially looking forward to this because it's usually the carnies that are the creepy ones.
Mm-hmm. No, the carny isn't the creep in the story. And I'm glad that you know what the tilt-a-whirl is, because I feel if I had to describe the ride, the tilt-a-whirl, I would never get there. I wouldn't be able to put in words what that ride is to the point that someone who has never seen it before would understand. One thing that's impressive about this first story we're going to hear is the victim of this creep encounter does a great job of explaining the tilt-a-whirl. I found it impressive. But I will never look at that ride the same after hearing about the creep they encountered while riding a tilt-a-whirl.
I was looking forward to you trying to explain it.
Hi, Jordan. I have a creep encounter for you. This happened to me when I was about 10 years old. So this would have been around 1990 or 91. I was with my friends. One of my friends' moms dropped us off at the fair because the fair had come to town. And so it was totally normal back then, even though I was only 10 years old and my friends were the same age as me. It was normal back then to just for your parents to drop you off and pick you up later. I don't know. They never came with us. Anyways, we got dropped off at the fair. We were having a great time, and there was this one ride called the Tilt-A-Whirl. But what it is you sit in this little, I don't know what you call it, trolley almost, and you sit, and it's open on one end, and it's kind of slightly curved. And so all of us friends, there was 4 of us, we piled into this thing, and it spins you around. And so there's other people in the other trolley, so eventually you come face to face. As things spin around, you become face to face up close to these other people on the ride. I'm sure that I'm probably not describing it well, but anyway, there was a man with a couple other people also on the ride on a different trolley. So when we would go around, we would come face to face with him quite often throughout the series of the ride. And the ride's probably like, I don't know, 4 minutes long-ish, maybe not that long. But you see the same people often, right? Because you're spinning. Anyway, I had noticed the man looking at me before. I'd noticed him looking at me in the lineup, and I remember thinking he had hair like my dad, because my dad had kind of longer blonde hair, and this man had longer blonde hair. And I remember thinking, oh, he had hair like my dad, but he had been looking at me, but I didn't think anything of it because I was just a child. And so he was on the ride, and so the first time that we went face to face on the ride, I thought I'd seen something, and but I thought, oh no, I didn't see that. That's kind of weird. But then, sure enough, a few seconds later, we're face to face again because the ride is still spinning, and I see that he's staring directly at me, and I look, and his penis is out, seriously, out of his pants. So I had never seen anything like that in my life, obviously, because I was a 10-year-old girl. And he's sitting right next to other people, but no one seemed to notice, right? Obviously. It was just, I think, deliberately meant to be shown to me and my friends. And so, yeah, we ended up coming face to face like 5 or 6 more times, and it's just hanging out there. And I was like mortified, right? So then we get off the ride's over, and I see him standing outside of the ride, and everything's put away, but he's looking at me and staring at me and walking towards me. And so I remember I just was like, said to my friends, hey girls, let's get out of here. Let's go to the haunted house, right? And so we ran away. And I never told anyone that because I just thought he was gross and creepy, and I couldn't believe what I'd seen. And I never told anyone because I didn't realize that what he was doing was so serious. I was just a child. I never even told my friends about it because I was more just embarrassed that I literally thought it was just an accident, that I had accidentally seen this. But now as an adult, years and years and years later, I realize what happened. Like, he exposed himself to me. I've always regretted not telling someone about it. But at the time I was so young, I didn't realize the seriousness of it. So anyway, that was my extreme encounters with creep story. It was much worse than I thought at the time because I just was a little girl that was just innocent. Hopefully that guy's dead. So have a great day. Bye.
What a way to end that horrible story. And I hope he's dead. But whatever was going on with this guy, there's a lot up in the air. Like, for one, is it like this bizarre fetish, but also who are the people in the ride with him? Because when you sit in the tilt-a-whirl, there's usually like 3 or 4 people per each, car or whatever that are spinning around. Like, was he sitting with like friends who saw him doing this and were like egging him on, or was he sitting with complete strangers? Both options are creepy.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who he was sitting with. He could have been sitting with Jesus himself. I do hope he's dead and he's looking up at us now. I hate when these stories involve kids, and so many of them do. Like, people look back on
Yeah.
their childhood and they're like,
Mhm.
you know what? Looking back, that's very illegal.
And I could see her in her mind as a 10-year-old just being like, that was just like, that guy was such a creep. But now as an adult being like, whoa, like that was like really twisted.
Something like that would traumatize or like rattle even an adult
Mhm.
woman or man.
Mhm.
But like a kid,
Yeah. In a group of kids, I don't know, did she say if her friend, like, 'cause she was in her car on the Tilt-A-Whirl with a couple friends. I wonder if they saw what was happening as well.
and just none of them said anything because like her, they were just like mortified and
Yeah.
embarrassed, which is the same word. Like on the surface, it's like you want to laugh, but it's like, no, that's not funny.
Mm.
That's actually so terrible.
But it reminds me of why I wouldn't want to just like drop kids off at the traveling amusement park carnival thing. I know most cities, I think, would have this sort of thing, like, or is this maybe something from the 80s and 90s where there's the traveling like amusement park that shows up in town for a week every summer?
There's one in Regina. Yeah. It used to be called Buffalo Days, but now I think it's just called the Regina X.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
just like shows up at in like a mall parking lot or something,
Yeah.
or in a field somewhere.
But
Mhm.
I even remember it's been here for years and years and years. First week of August, and I was the only one of my friends when we were like 11 and 12 that wasn't allowed to go alone.
'Cause your parents knew. Your dad's like, no, not my Madelayne.
It was mostly my mom. She was like, yeah, absolutely not. I think my
Yeah.
dad would have had a little bit of a longer leash with me,
Okay.
but no, my mom was like, no.
Mothers always seem to know best. The next story does involve a mother being like, this has to stop.
Nice.
We'll call this story Mia and Her Clean Feet Are Far Too Innocent to Be on YouTube.
Hey Jordan and Madelayne, my name is Mia. I live just outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I'm actually listening to one of your Creep Encounter episodes right now, the latest one. And the Poshmark story had reminded me of an experience of my own. So when I was probably about 11 or 12, I started a YouTube channel before being a YouTuber was a thing, basically. And I just made little get ready videos, whatever. So one day, in one of my videos, I guess my bare foot was in the video that I didn't realize, I was at that age of innocence. I didn't know anything about that category of things, okay? So I get a comment on one of my videos, and they're asking me if I can make a video on how I clean my toes. And of course, instantly I did think that it was a weird request, but I was willing to accommodate it because I didn't see any harm in it. So I continued to post this video on YouTube of how I clean my toes. And within an hour of the video, I would say it had probably 20,000 views. And one day I had said to my mom, look, like my videos with my feet in them are getting a lot of views. Like, do you think I can be like a YouTuber one day? Do you think I can get successful with this? And of course, my mother immediately knew what was going on. And that is the day that I learned what a foot fetish was. Ever since then, I haven't been able to look at feet the same. I hate feet. And I'm honestly just pretty upset that I put that video out there for free when I could have been getting paid big bucks for that. Anyways, that's my story. Love the show. Thanks so much.
Oh, she's referencing the Poshmark story from episode 27 where a young woman was selling like kind of like athletic pants online, and somebody asked her if they're see-through when they're wet, and they asked her to like wet them. And she got her mom to like spray her in the shower and sent them a video of it, and then their account disappeared. This is very similar to that.
But the opposite. Because I remember that, and as soon as you said this contains like a mom that said no, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the leggings.
Yes.
Because when we listened to that, and she's like, yeah, like my mom helped me. And all I could think of was like, Mom.
Yeah, you're so
Come
innocent, mom.
on.
It's kind of sweet how trusting mom is to the internet.
Ugh.
Mia's mom already understood the internet is a horrible place, and my sweet Datta is not putting videos of her feet getting 20,000 views. Oh my God. Like if you think of how those views came, like what it came from, there's probably some dark place on the internet where that video ended up, and that's pretty sick.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but it seems like she's kind of able to laugh at it,
When
as I admit I did too.
when stories, oh, this is a good one to laugh at. Like it's really unfortunate that she was like 12 or whatever it was, but I'm always very jealous of adults that make money off their feet. I'm like, I am never that lucky. Like I've never had some weirdo message me and be like, can you send me pictures for like X amount of dollars? Because
Do you want to give your email or anything?
you post it below.
Okay.
Because like I would be on that so fast.
Mhm.
Easiest
Well, it
money
seems
ever.
like yeah, it seems like Mia may have found her calling, but I have a feeling she found a different career or took a different path in life where that's not necessary now. But it's kind of it gives a little glimpse into how innocent eyes would view the internet. Even like the kid having their bare foot like visible for a moment, that comment comes up, you'd be like, what? Like a total creep.
Right, yeah.
But to be like, maybe I could do that. And then she's so innocent that she like, Mom, like, do you think I could make it as a YouTuber?
No.
Man, they had a big talk that night. I would not want to have to deal with that with my 12-year-old daughter. Like,
Does a core memory have to be good? Because like that's for sure a core memory. Like
definitely.
life changed after that
Yeah.
conversation.
The YouTube account was immediately terminated.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you and I who talked about it or if it was Aaron and I on Keep Canada Weird, but there was like a kind of like a spa beauty salon place in Toronto, and they were offering discounts to their clients if the clients would allow them to take photos of their feet and post it online. It was like a 20% discount or something, and they had a website where they were posting the feet pictures of their
Well,
clients.
I do remember this, and I think this may have been one of the creep stories that like crossed over. I think you did talk about it with both of us because it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, some stories fall right between like a Keep Canada weird news thing and a creep encounter. It's interesting. One of the stories we'll end with tonight is a creep story that's like creepy. It's Keep Canada weirdish, but it's also like a UFO story. So it seems like it's the perfect balance of everything covered on this show, as you'll see.
It's in the intersection of the Venn diagram that is this podcast.
Let's get to the next one there. Mia, I thank you for sending us that story. It's I'm going to play it for my kid who's a little more mature than maybe Mia was when she was 12. And I'm going to let that be a cautionary tale for him. But
like, how sad is it that 12-year-olds need
I
to
know,
learn that?
but it's
and like internet
yeah,
safety.
it's a screwed up world,
Yeah.
as the series illustrates all the time. Let's move on to another story here. This is a listener named Michelle, and she has something that may be a creep story, or maybe it's a scammer. I don't really know what to make of this story. It's a bit of a roller coaster, though. Let's listen. You tell me if this was a creep trying to do something creepy or a scammer trying to do something scammy, or maybe even both.
I like these ones, the ones that we get to decide.
We'll decide soon.
So I do have a little creep encounter that's kind of linked to two stories, my story and then my roommate's story who encountered, I'm pretty positive, the same person. So it's 9:30 p.m. I've just ordered some takeout that I'm going to go pick up because I want to save money on delivery. So I'm walking down this like dark street past a cemetery, which is also adds to the creepiness. But as I'm walking, I notice this man behind me, and he's walking behind me. The only reason I notice him is because he's talking really loudly on the phone. So whatever, I keep walking, and all of a sudden this lady comes from in front of me. She's approaching me and she's crying and she's saying, help me, like I just got kicked out. I have no money, I have no food, I have no place to go. And I'm kind of like taken aback because as I'm talking to her, the man that was behind me is now beside her. As it like, it was almost as if he knew her. Like it was just weird vibes. My something felt very off. So obviously I still wanted to help her out. So I said, I'm going downtown to get some food. Like, if you would like some food, I can get you something. I don't have any money though. Immediately she made an excuse. She was like, oh no, sorry, I'm celiac, I can't. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And as I was saying that, I started getting a call from the takeout place, and I kind of showed them both my phone, and I was like, sorry, I got to take this call. I took the call, and I started walking away. As I'm walking away, he starts yelling at her, and I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I don't know what they were attempting to do, like what their plan was, what he wanted her to do. I don't know, but just a little background for those of you that don't know, Nova Scotia is one of the worst places in Canada for human trafficking. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but it makes me think that it might have, because of the encounter that my roommate had. So shortly after, my roommate came home and she told me she had a similar encounter that I had. So she's walking down, also it's daylight by this time, so she's walking down towards a gas station. And the area that I live in, it's like there's a gas station, there's a bus terminal, there's a train station, there's a shipping yard, there is a like major hotel there that a lot of like higher up people have stayed, like the Prime Minister has stayed there, for example. It's right next to the bus station that goes to other provinces. So again, my roommate, she's on her way to the gas station, she wants to get some Gatorade, a little hangover cure from the night before. And as she's walking, same thing. Lady approaches her crying, I just got kicked out. I need help. I have no money. I have no food. Can you please help me out? My roommate is a really nice girl. She's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to the gas station. I can get you some money out there. Come on. And immediately the girl is like, oh no, come to the Westin, which is a hotel that's like right there. She was like very persistent on my roommate going to the hotel there to get her out money. And my roommate was like, no, I'm going to the gas station anyways. Like, I'll get you money out there if you really want it. And ultimately the girl was like, yeah, okay. So she went to the gas station with her, and my roommate got her out money. And that was that. But just something to think about. Like, why was she so persistent on her going to this hotel? Like, was it some sort of scheme? Like, was a van gonna pull up and pull in my roommate? I don't know. Like, all of these questions have ran through my head. I've had people that I've told this story to kind of confirm that, yeah, that definitely sounds like a trafficking scheme, especially with the same kind of story. And my description of the girl matched my roommate's description, so we're pretty positive it was the same girl, but we're all just kind of speculating, like, what the heck was that?
My first take on it is like, it seems to just be an organized kind of like scam that this guy and this girl are in on. And if anyone is like being human trafficked, it's probably the girl that this guy is getting to do the dirty work in the scheme.
Totally. And her roommate's lucky she wasn't robbed at that ATM.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like, red flags. As soon as someone, okay, so she said like, oh, I'm kicked out. I have no money, no food. But come to this hotel. Okay, so are you kicked out or not?
In the Westin, the hotel they're mentioning, that's like a high-end hotel. You don't get kicked out and then wind up at the Westin where the Prime Minister stayed.
Right. Yeah, no, that's weird. That's super weird. And yeah, just the fact that, like, I think the girl took what she could get at that point. She just was like, yeah, I'll get some money out of this deal. But yeah, trying to get somebody to a hotel, that's a whole new level of red flag.
The only thing I could think of is maybe like, if this guy is in on it, maybe they know there's an ATM like in that hotel or something, and he's probably hanging out near there just to keep her safe or watch to make sure she, does what he's probably convincing her to do in some way. I can only if our read on if our read on this is right, I can only imagine the stuff that he gets her to do. Because like for any guy to put her, I guess she's the more sympathetic character in it, but for him to let her be in harm's way for the sake of getting $20 here and there, like, that's, that's kind of the where I'm thinking if anyone's getting human trafficked, it's the poor girl he has approaching people, fake crying while he's like on the phone with her, yelling at her like, "Try harder."
Yeah. Well, women trust women more. So she's yeah. No, that's definitely a weird situation.
Yeah, it's terrible. But if someone came up to me, a girl crying, I just got kicked out and I need money. I feel like I'd have a really hard time not giving her something. If it was a guy, a sketchy guy, there'd be no way in hell I'd give them anything.
Creepy scammers know that. So yeah, that's not only that's both. That's really creepy and super scammy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were not up to anything good.
They were up to nothing good, that's for sure.
Once the hotel was part of the situation, that just changed it all for me. Like that's like this is about more than money.
Yeah.
And let me just say that like I know human trafficking happens, but I think human trafficking is thrown around far too much. Like this very well could have been, but just people. Not every missing person is a victim of human trafficking.
Again, the person in this story that I think is most likely to be human trafficked is the girl who is putting on the scam or the scheme for the guy who's probably her abusive boyfriend, and she's left doing what she, trapped with him doing what he wants her to do, which seems to be approach people and give a sob story and beg for $20
or lure other women to the hotel.
Yeah, the hotel is creepy, but when I hear it, I'm thinking there's just a bank machine on the at the door of the hotel or something. I can't imagine it's like, let's go up to room 217 and you can give me the money there. But who knows?
Oh, that would probably happen once they were in the lobby.
Yeah, who knows? It's creepy. You're exactly right. We're going to start getting to our second break, but before we do, we have a listener who has a topic idea for future creep encounter stories, and I'll let you listen and weigh in on this because I've never been a pregnant woman. You have, famously, and you bring it up every chance you can.
I do.
So you listen to Sarah's idea and her stories, and you let me know if this is a good idea.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I live outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I have a creep story for you guys. You guys should do a whole creep series on things people say to people who are pregnant, because this is a pregnancy story. I was pregnant back in 2020 during COVID, very pregnant, like 8.5 months pregnant, when stores started to reopen and let you line up 6 feet apart to let so many people in the store at a time. So I'm going to Canadian Tire to get some stuff for my baby room because time crunch. And I'm like walking up to the line, waddling, and this old man kind of stops me and he says, "Oh my gosh, you are so big. Good thing they're letting more people into the store because you would count as 2 people." Like, because I had a baby in my belly. I didn't even know what to say. I just stood there and kind of laughed and went and got in the lineup and just tried to avoid this man. But, like, who says that to somebody? Also, while I was pregnant, I went to Costco and a lady asked me if I was having 1 baby or 2. Because obviously I looked very large. Again, who says that to somebody?
I think the moral of this story is just don't comment on pregnant women's bodies, even if you think it's going to go over well.
Don't comment on anybody's body. No one.
Or, pregnant or otherwise. But like when I hear those stories, I don't think like creepy. I think just socially inept. I can picture the man being like, they're only letting in 7 people at a time for him to say like, "Oh, hopefully you only count as 1." Like just thinking it's a funny thing, and for her to be like, "You son of a bitch."
It's very like out of touch almost. They just like I wouldn't say it's creepy either. It's just very inappropriate and
it's just socially inept. It's just like, come on.
Stupid. Yeah. Just shut up. Unless her water broke on your feet, don't even ask if she's pregnant. Just shut up.
Why go there? Well, it's not. But what about her idea of future stories involving things that are said to pregnant women?
I think that's a fabulous idea. Like one special episode toward like pregnancy creeps, because we've had at least one, maybe a couple
But let this be a call out. If you have a pregnancy related creep story, go to the link in this episode's description and you can send us a voicemail with your creep story. We'd love to hear it. Again, this is episode 28 of this. This is volume 28 of this series. We're going to do at least 28 more. And we'd love to have your story. While you think about what you're going to say and the story you're going to tell us, we'll take a quick break. And when we get back, we have a segment that we'll just call simply WTF Creeps. These are the weird, bizarre, out of this world, next level psycho creeps. And we have two really wild ones coming up after this break. Madelayne, before we get to two of the weirdest creep encounters you've ever heard in your life, I want to read you a short news article. It's kind of like the cutting edge of creep encounters. This is something I saw on the news coming out of Toronto. Listen to this. A Toronto man is facing criminal charges after allegedly using a drone to spy on two women inside their downtown condo. Police say a drone was spotted outside the woman's windows on March 11th in the Beverly and Dundas area. The accused, a 32-year-old Graham Kelly, was arrested weeks later and charged with secretly observing or recording a person expecting privacy along with criminal harassment. The case has stirred fear among residents who say drones peering into private homes is becoming an unsettling trend. One woman described the moment she noticed a drone hovering outside her window while she worked from home. At first, I thought it was a bird, but when I realized it was a drone, it felt really creepy. I now always keep my blinds shut. Another Toronto resident named Maria Blanchette recalled waking in the middle of the night to see a drone floating outside her condo. It was just hovering, and then it moved down to the floor below. I was scared about it for days. Canadian law makes it illegal to collect images of people in places where they have reasonable expectations of privacy. But for those who've seen a drone lingering outside their window, the violation feels more immediate and deeply upsetting. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
How did they catch that guy?
Well, right. I know zero about drones, like actually zero. Do you have to like register them? And even if you did, how would they know which one's which? I don't know.
Yeah, I think in some cases you have to register them, but you can buy them like at the mall,
Right.
and and just take it out and use it. And they have some of them have like really high-end cameras and stuff. But even if it was registered, like what is there, like a little serial number on it? If it's flying outside your window at night, you would never know.
Right.
And also you don't know who's using it, because like the good ones, someone could be in an apartment 3 floors down or across the street in a park, on a park bench or
Yeah.
something, and they're just holding a little remote control, watching a video on their phone or something.
Yeah. Like out of all the cool things you could do with a drone, this is what you choose to do.
Well, think about how amazing YouTube is. Earlier in this episode, we heard that one person used like YouTube's ability to connect people all over the world with like convincing a 12-year-old to clean her
I
feet.
guess.
So I'm not surprised that creeps will use the amazing technology we have to do creepy stuff.
That's true. But like the internet exists and there's something for everyone on there. If you like watching people sleep,
Yeah.
people will upload like a live video to TikTok of just them sleeping.
I get it. I get it. This is a creepy, like emerging trend though.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably getting more and more common as the quality of video on drones goes up and the cost of drones goes down.
Is that
Which is,
voyeurism?
I'm sure.
Or does a sexual act have to be like taking place for it to be
No, I think of
voyeurism?
voyeurism. You like a peeping Tom just watching
Oh,
someone
yeah.
in their window get changed or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's like, it's in the 70s, you had to like sneak in someone's backyard and peek in their windows to watch them change. But a drone allows you to, not only do it, but record it in 4K. And that's a horrifying thought. When I
Wild.
found this article, when I came across it, I was like, whoa, I've never thought that this was a thing, but now I'm surprised it's not more common of an occurrence.
Well, it probably is more common, and this is just the guy that got caught.
Yeah.
But
And
drones
again,
are
I'd love,
loud.
and if it was, let's say you're in downtown Toronto in a
Oh.
condo, it's outside your window, which is probably fairly soundproof.
That's true.
And it just makes that like electric car sound like,
I guess. You could even think it's like a bug or something.
yeah, exactly. And
Hmm.
in a city like Toronto where there's all the condos, it's all windows. So if you're on the 25th floor of some building, you would never worry about someone looking in your window.
Yeah.
So isn't that creepy? It's a creepy thought.
That's like 100% creepy. There's no wiggle room there. That's
No,
creepy.
but I think this guy that got caught, he was also charged with harassment. So maybe the reason they caught him is because he was already bothering this person. I think you'd have a hard time catching someone doing this, but I'm glad they caught this one guy. I hope they make an example of him because they need to stop that from happening for sure.
Yeah. Well, right. Oh, it's a slippery slope.
It is. It's a slippery, creepy slope. But let's move on to our two final stories. These creep encounters are next level. I will caution you, they're both longer than what we would normally entertain, but there's good reason for both. Let's start with a voice that'll be familiar to a lot of listeners of this show. Chris Rutkowski is a internationally known UFO expert. He's a former university professor in Manitoba, and he, for years, has been investigating, researching, writing books about UFOs. One thing he does a lot is speak to people about their UFO experiences. Chris Rutkowski shared with us the creepiest UFO experiencer he has ever met in his 30 plus years of interviewing people about their UFO experiences. This is a dark one. Buckle up.
I'm intrigued.
Hi, Jordan. This is Chris from Winnipeg. Most people know me as a UFO guy, and I have a story. It could be an encounters with a creep. It could be keeping Canada weird, or it could be something else. I'll let you decide. In the mid-1980s, I had already started to gain a bit of a reputation as somebody interested in UFOs. People were coming to me with stories about having encountered aliens and so forth. And I had received a phone call at my office at the university from somebody who said that he would like to tell me his story about encountering an angelic alien being while he was working up north. I have to say that my spidey sense was tingling. There was something about this guy that sounded a little bit different. So rather than inviting him to my office at the university and not going to where he was, I said, maybe we can meet at the university cafeteria at lunchtime. And he said, okay, sounds good. So, I goes, whatever. It was a very busy day, but I managed to pop out for lunch. And I was waiting, in the lunch area, lots of people. There were hundreds of people there, but I described what I was wearing to him and waited for somebody to come up to me. And sure enough, this guy shows up, and he looked like anybody you would expect to see in a university cafeteria, dressed, jeans and a casual shirt. His glasses, interestingly enough, had been broken and put together with Scotch tape, like a lot of people who are nerds at university would have. But he called out to me and he said, "Chris, are you the Chris who's interested in UFOs?" I said, "Sure." So we sat down, and over the course of the next half hour or so, he proceeded to tell me his story. And his story was that he had been working at a mine in northern Manitoba, at a nickel mine. And he found it was relaxing to go for walks at lunchtime. And so when he had a break, he would walk into the forest and just appreciate nature. And, so far everything sounded really good with this guy. And he continued to tell me a story that one day he went out for lunch, and as he's walking through the forest, he saw a light at the top of a tree within the branches. And he walked closer and closer, and the light, was still pretty diffuse, but all of a sudden he heard a voice coming from this tree, the light in this tree. And this light said, "Do not be afraid. I am, a being from another dimension, and I've been watching you for a while, and I'm come to impart some knowledge and information to you." So he said that he began a conversation, telepathically, of course, with this being in this light. But as he was telling me this, he said, he got on to what this light was saying, and he said, I understand you've had some difficulties in your life. I think he'd mentioned some problems with his family and friends. He was having a hard time relating to people. And then his light said, I've also been watching you at work, and you have been held back at work. People don't like you at work. As a matter of fact, they've sabotaged and undermined your authority and your work ethic. You could really get further ahead, but one person in particular is keeping you back, and that person really shouldn't be around. It's really sad that that person is there, because if that person wasn't there, then you'd get further ahead, you'd get promotions, your life would be so much better if that person wasn't there. Eventually this light stopped talking to him, and it went out, and he was left in the middle of the forest just with a tree. And so he went back to work. Now this guy's job was that he worked on one of the catwalks over the sloughs of molten slag coming in and out of the furnaces in the mine. And his job was to make sure that the slag didn't bunch up and it didn't spill over and all this sort of stuff. So he had a long pole and to use to make sure that he could guide the molten rock. Well, he says he went back to work that after lunch, and as he's working on this catwalk, one of his coworkers came up to him and gave him a hard time about something. And he immediately realized this was the person that this mystical being in the light was talking about, because this person really was giving him a hard time. And he realized this, so he took his metal bar that he was using to poke the slag, and he hit this other coworker with it, knocking him into the vat of molten slag. And as you can imagine, not great things happened after that. But this guy turned to me as we're sitting there in the cafeteria, and he says, "Now, you don't think that was a crazy thing to do you?" And I looked at him, and I looked around at the people in the cafeteria who weren't paying us any attention, but I turned to him and I said, no, maybe not. It's a personal experience. I don't think it was a crazy thing to do necessarily. So the rest of the lunch went really awkwardly. Eventually I had to excuse myself. I had to get back to work. And he says, okay, I have your contact number and I'll get back to you. And I said, can I have your contact number where you are? And he says, okay. So he gave me his contact number and he left. He walked out of the cafeteria into the university, disappeared into the crowd. And I sat there for a while thinking, what the heck do I do with this information? So I left the cafeteria, and on my way back to my office, I happened to bump into a colleague of mine. This particular guy had actually worked with me with a couple of abductees who had some traumatic experiences in their lives, had a lot of anxiety. And I just bumped into him in the hallway, and I said, the strangest thing just happened to me. I met this guy who told me the story about working up in a mine, and he pushed a guy into molten slag. And as I'm telling my colleague this, his eyes got really wide, and he says, I know who that is. And I said, really? He says, yeah, there was a case that he had been peripherally involved with where that actually happened, that a guy killed somebody by pushing him into a vat of molten slag at a mine. And basically, they, all they could retrieve was like a few teeth or something like that from this fellow who had been murdered. And this guy had been arrested, of course, and he had been institutionalized in a city just outside of Winnipeg in Manitoba. And he'd been sent for rehabilitation according to the court and to the court psychiatrist. And I looked at my colleague and I says, he ain't rehabilitated. Let me just tell you that right off. So my colleague said, well, we should probably follow this up. And he knew the people at the institution where this guy had been sent. So he gave me, or he asked me for this guy's contact information, which I gave him. And then, I had to get back and he had to get back. And the as I understand it, following that, this fellow turned out to have been on a day pass, on a parole, because he had been rehabilitated or in the process of being rehabilitated from this psychiatric institution. And they had to reassess him, and I don't think he was allowed out again. I don't know what happened after that. But I was really curious about this. So I went to the library, and I, looked up this particular incident, and I found a newspaper clipping about the court case, and it was absolutely true. This was the same guy. The newspaper clipping had even more details about this guy, and he had some really strange ideas. But true, he had been sent to a psychiatric institution for treatment, and as far as they knew, he was better, but as far as I knew, he was not.
So that story has it all. Certainly creepy. It's got the UFO stuff, the crime stuff, the failure of our justice system here in Canada. That is a roller coaster, and it sounds too bizarre to be true. But I know Chris Rutkowski, and he has enough crazy stories that he doesn't need to make them up.
Right. Well, at first, when he was talking about talking to nature, I was like, I hope he asked him if he like maybe did some mushrooms before these walks. But then it just got so much more bizarre than that.
But if like Chris Rutkowski does, if you're like a university professor who entertains the UFO abductee stories, you get a lot of like unusual stuff like this. But this one, it goes so much further when the guy then tells Chris about, a murder he committed.
I can't imagine a lot of the people he talks to admits to murder. I can't see that happening a lot. So
I feel like a lot of Canadians see unusual things in the sky. Very few of them are compelled to kill people as a result of things they've heard from those aliens. I think this is a creep encounter that's just a cautionary tale that if you get too deep into weird stuff, you will eventually rub elbows with somebody really unhinged. And the idea that this person was out on a day pass and thought, this is a great opportunity to connect with some other UFO researchers and maybe they can help understand my case or whatever happened to me. This is just a good indication that this person probably needs quite a bit more treatment before they go out anywhere.
Absolutely. I'd like to do a little bit more research on this because he really thought that the tree was talking to him. And
the light in the tree. It sounds like an X-Files episode.
Yeah, it does. Or a Simpsons episode.
Treehouse of Horror.
Making fun of the X-Files.
Yeah, oh man, but that's a weird one. Chris Rutkowski has a lot of interesting stories. I never thought I'd be featuring one on Creep Encounters, but like he said, that could have fallen on pretty much any type of series we do, because it's certainly a dark, unusual Canadian story, and it's hella creepy.
Well, thank God Chris reacted the way he did, because had he told someone else that just kind of brushed it off, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, I like the thought of like sitting at the cafeteria and the guy being like, "You don't think that's crazy, do you?" And Chris just being like, "No,
he's like, no,
of course not." Yeah.
Get out of here, no.
But
and then the happenstance of running into another guy that knew maybe not a lot about the case, but like was familiar with this. Wow.
I thought about that. The odds are slim that you would run into someone who knows it. But then again, this is two university professors in Manitoba where this case happened. And this case involved, mental health and all that stuff. So I think it's just the type of people that Chris would be talking to at the university would be connected. So I kind of thought about that. I'm like, that's a little weird. But no, it all checks out. But that isn't the only WTF themed creep encounter. We have one last one to go out on, and this also, I guess, involves science in a way. This is a listener named Michelle, our second Michelle of the night, and she wants to tell us about a bizarre science experiment that a creep ended up tricking her into doing in Alberta.
Oh no.
Yeah, we could also call it the strangest dog walk anyone has ever had before. Get ready for this one.
So I was out for a walk with my dog, and he's quite a large, intimidating dog. He's half pit bull, half husky. And when I walk, I wear earbuds. I don't make eye contact. I usually wear sunglasses, a hat. I've grown up in the city. I'm not what you would call a friendly person because I know a lot of creeps are out there. So I was walking in my neighborhood in a park area, and I see this guy coming down the embankment, and he's holding a couple of two by fours.
Well, that's not good.
And it looked really weird. Like he wasn't walking on the pathway, he was walking down the hill. And he came up to me and he started talking. So I paused what I was listening to, and he asked if I would help him out with a science experiment. And I thought that was really weird.
No.
He was explaining how he was using these two by fours to do like a lever exercise, and he had to involve people in it. And then he started kind of dragging me over to this, not dragging me, but maybe like ushering me over as I was trying to walk away to this lamppost. And he propped up these two by fours against the lamppost, and then he sat on it and he asked me to like hold them with my fingertips. And then all of a sudden I'm in this guy's science experiment. It was just so weird. I also have my huge dog on the leash. Like the three of us are crammed in his tiny personal bubble. I'm extremely uncomfortable. I don't want to help him with his stupid science experiment. But it was just such an odd request that I didn't know how to say no. And he was a yapper, I would say. So I'm doing this science experiment. I'm holding these two by fours. He's like sitting on them. He's moving the position of the two by fours. He's asking me to hold it with my pointer finger, with my ring finger, with just my thumbs. And he's telling me all about angles and I don't know, some science terms he's using. I don't care.
No.
I just want to get away from this creep. But the science experiment comes to an end and he's timing these things on his phone. I don't know why. He's not explaining any of this to me. And when he stands up and, I think this whole weird encounter is over, he asks if I'm on Instagram. And I said, no, I am on Instagram, but I'm not going to tell him that I'm on Instagram or share my profile with him. Then he pulls up his profile and tells me he's a photographer and starts taking pictures, like showing me pictures he's taken. And so I say, okay, thanks, like have a good day. And I walk away and I look behind and I see him like kind of following me, but also walking towards another park. And so I turn the corner and I'm getting closer to my house, but I'm also getting like really creeped out that he could still be behind me. And so I take off running, and my dog, of course, runs incredibly fast. He's practically dragging me. I managed to get to my front door. He doesn't seem to be following me. And I make it safely inside. But I still wonder, I was very unsettled by that encounter because why am I holding the boards of this grown man to sit on? Was it really a science experiment? It was just so bizarre, and I've never encountered anything like it, and just wanted to share.
It's either like a creep or like a bizarre scientist or the world's most interesting man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this one. I just like the way she told it.
Yeah,
She's just
that
so
was awesome.
uninterested, but somehow roped into doing this.
Well, he was just so passionate, and he just, by the sound, she's like, he's just a yapper, or he was a yapper. I feel like he just came on so strong, and she got caught in the whirlwind of this man's like science experiment, which involved like he sat on one end of a 2x4 that was across like a lamppost, and he was trying to get her to hold it. When we hear these crazy things, I think, is it a fetish? There was no point to this where it sounded like it was sexual.
No.
It just sounded like she did not consent to helping him with his science experiment.
And I love how she was with her dog, who's half pit bull. So, like, not everyone loves dogs. And I know a lot of dog owners they trust their dog's intuition more than anything. So, like, if their dog doesn't like you, they don't like you. And the dog was like, whatever. Just help this guy.
The dog was tricked into it. The dog was just like, what is going on here?
The dog was tricked into it too.
Everyone was just like, and then it wasn't only like he needed her to help him do this experiment. He was like kind of using all the jargon and explaining it to her. He just had a passion for like this citizen science experiments in this park, which is just so crazy. But then to end it with like, and I'm on Instagram, I'm actually a photographer. It's what the hell? What is with this guy?
Jack of all trades, I guess.
It is absolutely bizarre. And then on top of that, again, yes, she has the dog. She has her headphones in with her head down. He just could not resist it. Like, I need to do some science with this person. He comes out of the woods carrying 2x4s. Like, hey.
Well, it sounds like this where she was walking isn't super populated. So he was probably like, oh, thank goodness, someone to help me with my experiment.
Yes, great. This will be perfect.
And I was like, you're coming with me.
That is so bizarre.
This is for the greater good of science.
Yeah, but you can't like stuff like that. It's too strange to make up. That's a real story. I believe it 100% true.
And I really hope that, unbeknownst to all of us, I really hope this woman is somewhere in like a science research paper that's published by this guy. And he's like a really high credited scientist. It's like, and this woman with a pit bull, I got her to help me.
Yeah, she doesn't know it. He's learned this like new law of physics and he named it after her. It's like the Michelle law. And he's never been able to find her.
Instagramless Michelle law.
Yeah, that's it. Now science knows that with only fingertips, a woman can hold up a sitting man on a 2x4.
I really hate that. I hate that.
What a way to end the episode, though. That is 2 back-to-back crazy stories.
I specifically like Michelle's because it's funny. We can laugh at it. And it's just
it's so unexpected.
Weird. Like it's on the weird end of the creep spectrum.
Absolutely. It's completely unexpected, yet I can see the whole thing play out in my mind. She's a great storyteller. It would make a great like short film. Do you have a favorite story tonight? We've had a lot. Let me remind you. We heard the creep on the tilt-a-whirl. We heard about Mia's feet on YouTube. The creepy scammer, maybe abductor that Michelle ran into. We heard about the comments towards Sarah when she was pregnant at the height of COVID. We heard about Chris Rutkowski's UFO experiencing killer. And of course, the science experiment in the woods that Michelle came into. I don't know if I could pick a favorite tonight.
Me neither. The last 2, I think, are tied for me. Michelle's because it just provided some comic relief. And Chris's because it was kind of a wild ride. I couldn't predict where it was going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something. But it just shows after 28 volumes of listener-contributed encounters with creeps, there are so many more to unpack. I still have a folder of them ready to go, and I'm sure when we release this episode, we're going to get a bunch of people listening who say, I have a creep encounter to share. And if you're one of those people, go to the link in this episode's description, send us a voice message, and for anyone who has their voice aired on the show, you get a free swag pack. If you go on my website, there's a spot that you can click where you give me your mailing address and let me know what episode you appeared in, and I'll send you some stickers and whatever I have in my drawer of swag here. But I think, Madelayne, it's time to wrap this up.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how weird it is to like watching people sleep. But then I realized, I was like, if my baby and my cats could see the pictures on my phone, and how many hundreds of them I have of them sleeping, they would think I'm a creep.
You should put a drone above your daughter's crib.
I would, and all my cats. Like, they're so perfect when they sleep.
Oh, you know what though? A drone with your cat would be amazing. With your cats would be amazing because they would chase it and stuff, and you could get some great footage of the cats trying to kill the drone and trying to understand what it was. That would actually be very cool. If there was a channel on YouTube that was just hours of video where it's a drone filming cats, I'd watch that.
You know what? That might be $1 million idea, Jordan.
One of many that I have and will not act on.
That you're brewing up.
I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. I'm going to end by giving a huge and sincere thank you to everyone who took the time to share their creep encounters with us. These stories serve as a great reminder to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to anyone else out there who has a story to share, we're going to be doing many more episodes in this series, and we'd love to feature your story. You can share it with us by sending us a voicemail by using the link in this episode's description. If you have a story to share, go click the link now. The voice recorder's easy to use, and if you make any mistakes or misspeak, don't worry about it. I'll edit everything before it goes to air and make sure we all sound our best. We're excited to hear your story. Now, with that said, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, I have a few more thanks to pass out. First, a big thanks to Madelayne for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to Monty, Datta, who contributes to the music, and Linz from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed, Betsy, the Wrestle Guy, and Eva. We appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can do it in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, it'll give them to you ad-free, and it'll give you access to a back catalog of episodes that are no longer available. That sounds like something you're interested in? You can go premium by clicking the link in this episode's description. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know that you listen. Your support is very much appreciated. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.